My name is Jeffrey, and before everything unfolded, my life was as ordinary and beautiful as any man could hope for. I grew up on a family farm, the kind of childhood where the earth itself teaches you to work, to love, to endure. As an adult, I built a modest career in advertising while my wife, Tamara, poured her heart into teaching high school students. We lived a quiet life in the mountains of northern Utah, raising our two little boys in a world shaped by routine, faith, and simple joys. On that Easter weekend, everything felt perfectly in place. We had driven south to visit Tamara's parents and grandparents, spending days filled with laughter, shared meals, and the warmth of family gathered around tradition. When Monday morning arrived, it was time to return home. Work waited. Life waited. We packed the car, hugged everyone goodbye, and I felt the familiar weight of responsibility settling in as we prepared for the 5-hour drive back. But then something small happened. Small, yet monumental. As I began to pull away from the house, Tamara touched my arm gently and whispered, "Wait. Please stop the car." I thought she had forgotten something inside, but she shook her head and said, almost in a whisper, "I just need to say goodbye to my mom and dad one more time." She stepped out, ran back to them, embraced them tightly, kissed their cheeks, and returned with a smile as bright as spring sunlight. I didn't know it then, but that moment would become carved into my soul. It felt like a whisper, a nudge, an intuition from somewhere beyond this world. And I have carried it with me ever since, because that was her last goodbye. We got back on the road. I was driving fast, the legal speed almost 120 km/h, eager to return to work. My mind was filled with the clutter of responsibilities, the kind of internal monologue that keeps you half present. But then something shifted, so subtly yet so profoundly that it remains one of the clearest memories of my life. I looked into the rearview mirror, and my youngest son, Griffin, just 14 months old, locked eyes with me. Everything slowed. His tiny face, framed by his car seat, held a look of pure wonder. In that instant, I felt something sacred pass between us, as if time had folded in on itself, offering me one perfect second of absolute presence. Then I heard the joyful chaos of my older son, Spencer, 7 years old, playing in the back seat, filling the car with the sounds of childhood. I glanced at Tamara beside me. She had reclined her seat and fallen gently asleep, yet her hand remained wrapped around mine. 10 years of marriage, and she still held my hand as if no force in the world could separate us. Gratitude flooded me so intensely that it felt like a warm wave rising through my chest. For one brief, shining moment, I saw everything, my family, my blessings, my life, with crystalline clarity. And then, just as quickly, it all shattered. I must have closed my eyes for a fraction of a second. Maybe it was fatigue, maybe distraction, maybe destiny, but that microsecond was enough. The car drifted to the right. When I jerked the wheel to correct it, the tires lost grip, and the world flipped upside down. Metal screamed, glass exploded, the sky and ground spun in violent loops. They later told me the car rolled 6 to 8 times, but all I remember is the feeling of weightlessness, the chaotic blur, and then silence. When I woke, everything was wrong. My legs were crushed. My left leg had been severed. My spine was broken. My arm torn open. My abdomen split by the seatbelt. Gasoline filled the air. Broken glass glittered across the seats like shards of ice. I couldn't move. I couldn't breathe. And then I heard it. Spencer crying in the back. His voice was the only sound in a world collapsing around me. But no other voice answered him. A realization heavier than death sank into my chest. Tamara. Griffin. Gone. The grief hit me with a force so absolute it felt like my soul was being pulled apart from the inside. I wanted to scream, to rewind the universe by 10 seconds, to take it all back. But I was trapped inside my own shattered body, forced to face a truth I wasn't ready to understand. And just as despair began to swallow me whole, something impossible happened. A light appeared. Not the harsh white of an ambulance or the flicker of a broken headlight. This light moved. It breathed. It surrounded me with warmth and peace so profound that the agony faded into nothing. My lungs expanded, my racing heart calmed. And for the first time since the crash began, I felt safe. I felt myself rising, leaving the wreckage below, leaving the broken body that could no longer contain me. What I saw, and who I found waiting in that light, would change the course of my life forever. I rose above the wreckage as if gravity no longer applied to me. The chaos below, the twisted metal, the shattered glass, the broken, bleeding body that had once carried me through life, grew distant as though it belonged to another existence. And then, there was only light. It wasn't just brightness. It was a living presence, warm and intelligent, wrapping around me like the gentlest embrace I had ever known. For the first time since the crash, my breathing eased. The pain vanished. My thoughts quieted. I felt held, protected, understood in a way that no earthly language could ever fully capture. And then I saw her. Tamara stood within the light, radiant and whole. No wounds, no fear, no trace of the tragedy we had just lived. She looked exactly as she had on the day we fell in love. Bright eyes, serene smile, a presence that felt like home. But beyond that, she shone with something celestial, something that wasn't bound by the world we left behind. She didn't speak with her mouth. She didn't need to. Her voice reached straight into me, a communication beyond sound. "Jeff, you can't stay. You have to go back." Her words pierced me deeper than any physical injury could. I moved closer to her, drawn by love, by longing, by the instinct to stay where peace felt absolute. But even as I drifted toward her, I sensed the weight of what she knew, something I wasn't ready to face. We communicated without time or distance. Thoughts moved effortlessly between us. There were no misunderstandings, no hesitation, only truth laid bare. "I don't want to go back," I told her. "Half of my heart died with you." She understood. She felt my grief as if it were her own. But then she showed me Spencer, our little boy, alive, terrified, needing someone to anchor his world again. He cannot grow up alone. He needs you. He is your purpose now. The light around us pulsed with compassion. Even here, in what felt like heaven, sorrow found a way to collide with beauty. Because love does that. It softens pain, even as it deepens it. I looked into Tamara's eyes and realized the truth that cut through everything. If I stayed, Spencer would lose everything. If I returned, I would lose her. It was the most painful choice a soul could face. Just then, something incredible happened, something no one could have prepared me for. I felt her hand brush mine, and in that touch came a message so powerful and filled with grace that my spirit trembled. "You are not alone, Jeff. You never were. And even when you return, I will be with you." The serenity in her expression was almost unbearable. She wasn't forcing me. She wasn't pleading. She was letting me choose. And that freedom, the freedom to decide between unimaginable love and unimaginable loss, was the purest expression of divine trust I had ever known. As I drifted closer, as if to hold her one last time, something unexpected swelled within the light. A warmth deeper than any human feeling surrounded me. I recognized it instantly, though I had never felt it in this way. Love. Absolute, unconditional, eternal love. The kind of love that reminds you that you were created on purpose, for purpose. The kind of love that whispers to your soul that God is near. And in that moment, held between heaven and earth, I felt something stir inside me. A quiet courage, a knowing, a strength I didn't possess on my own. I made my choice. I turned toward the world I had just left, toward the broken body waiting for my return, toward the child who still needed me, and the light gently began pulling me back. But before everything faded, I heard it again. Not Tamara's voice, not mine, something greater, a presence woven through the very fabric of the light. Love them, guide them, tell them. This experience awakened something in me that I know many people carry silently in their hearts, the longing to feel protected, visited by God, touched by something holy. If you've ever felt that, even por un momento, I want you to stay close to this story. Let it bless you, and if your heart feels even a small spark of faith right now, I invite you to take a moment of connection. Deixum amen nos comentários. Let it be your prayer, your affirmation, your step toward healing. And share the name of your city as well, so we can lift you in our prayers and ask that the same light that held me may touch your home, your family, your life. Because what happened next changed everything. When I finally slipped into a deep sleep in the hospital weeks after the accident, it was the first moment of true rest my body had known since the day everything changed. But what happened that night was not a dream, it was an awakening. I felt the light before I saw it, warm, familiar, the same living presence that had embraced me at the scene of the crash. It pulled me gently upward, lifting me out of a body still broken, stitched, and trembling. And in an instant I was standing somewhere impossibly beautiful. To describe that place feels like trying to hold sunlight in my hands. It was vivid, alive, radiant with colors that don't exist on Earth. The air itself seemed to hum with harmony, with a kind of peace so profound it stopped my thoughts, my memories, my fears. I recognized it immediately. Home. Not the home I had built with Tamara in the mountains. Not the home of my childhood farm. This was the home my soul had known long before my body ever breathed its first breath. Every part of me remembered it. I could feel the ground beneath my feet. Not dirt, not stone, but something alive, warm, full of energy. I could run, laugh, breathe without pain. My body moved freely, untouched by trauma. I felt joy, not happiness, but the purest, deepest joy a human heart could hold. Then I sensed something to my left, a corridor, narrow and glowing softly. I didn't question it. I simply knew I was meant to follow it. The further I walked, the more familiar it became, as if it led straight into the center of my soul. At the end of the corridor stood a simple wooden cradle. My breath caught. I ran, faster than I had ever moved on Earth, and leaned over the cradle. There he was, Griffin, my baby boy, 14 months old, sleeping exactly as he had the last time I held him. His chest rose and fell with gentle rhythm. His lashes brushed his cheeks. He was perfect, untouched by tragedy, untouched by pain. Seeing him there dissolved every wall inside me. I lifted him into my arms, clinging to him, weeping from a place so deep I didn't even know it existed. And then I felt it, a presence behind me. Not just light this time, not just warmth, something vast, cosmic, eternal. It enveloped me the way an ocean embraces a single drop of water, completely, wholly, with infinite gentleness. As it drew closer, all my guilt surged to the surface. All the memories, all the questions, all the pain that had followed me from the earth. "I'm so sorry," I whispered inside my soul. "Please, let there be forgiveness for me." The presence moved nearer until it felt almost physical, like strong, loving arms wrapping around both me and my child. And in that embrace, something extraordinary happened. Every fear inside me dissolved. Every regret softened. Every wound, emotional and spiritual, fell away like dust. Then a message entered my heart. Not words spoken aloud, but understanding poured directly into me. There is nothing to forgive. All is in perfect divine order. That sentence reshaped everything I thought I knew about God, about judgment, about life. I had grown up believing life was a test, a series of trials evaluating my worthiness. But in that presence I saw the truth as clearly as I saw my son in my arms. Life is not a test. Life is a gift, a sacred opportunity to feel, to love, to grow, a journey crafted with meaning even in the moments we call mistakes. The presence continued to hold me, showing me scenes of my life, not as punishment, but as understanding. I saw my parents' divorce, the insecurities that shaped me, the choices I regretted, the times I stumbled. But with each memory, the same message echoed. There are no mistakes, only lessons. And who you became because of them is what matters. The love surrounding me was indescribable. Love without condition, expectation, or limit. It was gentle yet infinite, soft yet immeasurably powerful. And then came the part that surprised me most. You may choose. The presence allowed me to decide the fate of my grief, my pain, my future. I could hold on to my sorrow, or I could surrender it, everything, into the hands of God. My will is your will. You were created with freedom. Choose what aligns with love. I looked down at Griffin, kissed his forehead, and felt peace rising in me like dawn breaking over a dark horizon. I placed him gently back into the cradle. It was the hardest act of surrender I will ever make, but I let him go. I gave him back to God. And the moment I did, the light around me expanded until it consumed everything. Then, I was back in the hospital bed, back in the frailty of a human body, back in a world of gravity, stitches, and pain. But my vision had changed. I was no longer the man who believed he had failed his family. I was a soul who had touched eternity, carried by a God who loved me beyond my understanding. And what came next would show me that this experience wasn't the end of the story. It was only the beginning. Waking up back in my hospital bed felt like being dropped from heaven into a world I no longer recognized. My body was a map of injuries, my heart a landscape of grief. Machines beeped beside me, lights buzzed above me, and every breath felt like a negotiation between pain and will. But something inside me had changed forever. The light was still with me. Not around me, but within me. Quiet, steady, and real. Days blurred into weeks. Nurses moved like angels in human form, tending to wounds visible and invisible. Doctors worked relentlessly to rebuild what had been broken. But the greatest challenge wasn't physical, it was spiritual. I had touched heaven. I had let go of my child. I had said goodbye to my wife inside the light. And now I had to learn how to live in a world where they were no longer by my side. When the day finally came for me to leave the hospital, fear crept in. Not fear of pain or limitations, but fear of facing my son, my one surviving piece of the life I once had. I worried how he would see me now, damaged and fragile, confined to a wheelchair, carrying the weight of everything we had lost. My brothers came to pick me up. They lifted me gently, placed me into the chair, and guided me out of the hospital. As we drove to my brother's home, where Spencer had been staying, I replayed every possible scenario in my mind. Would he pull away? Would he be afraid of me? Would he see me as broken? When the car stopped, I saw him through the window. My little boy, face pressed against the glass, eyes searching for me the way a lighthouse searches the sea. My heart trembled. My hands shook. My breath caught in my chest. They rolled me toward the ramp, and as soon as Spencer realized it was really me, he bolted out the door. He ran faster than I'd ever seen him run. And without hesitation, without fear, he threw himself into my lap, into my arms, into the space where love lived stronger than any wound. The force of his hug nearly tore my stitches, but the force of his love put me back together. I told him softly, "I'm going to do everything I can to get better, but I'll be like this for a while." He looked at me with the sincerity only a child can hold and said, "Dad, if you were nothing but a puddle of blood, I would still love you." Even now, decades later, that sentence echoes through me like a sacred scripture. In that moment, I understood that love, real love, does not see limitation. It sees the soul. And it was then that the message from the light fully settled inside me. Life is not a test. Life is a gift so fragile it can change in a single heartbeat. A gift so powerful it can transform grief into compassion, loss into purpose, pain into awakening. A gift meant to be lived, not in fear, not in regret, but in gratitude, presence, and love. I realized I didn't return from the other side to suffer. I returned to serve, to love deeper, to live awake, to remind others that they are never alone, to show that even through the darkest nights, God's light is still there, waiting to be seen. If my story touched something within you, your sorrow, your hope, your longing, I want you to hold this truth close. You are loved more than you can imagine. You are guided more than you can see. And you are never walking through this life without heaven beside you. Before you go, I want to invite you to stay connected with this journey of light, healing, and revelation. There is another message waiting for you, one that can lift your spirit, strengthen your faith, and open your heart to even greater miracles. Just click on the next video appearing on your screen and let it bless your life in ways you may not expect. If you felt touched by this message, I also invite you to subscribe to our channel. Your presence here é uma bênção, and walking this path together makes the light shine stronger for all of us. Thank you for sharing this moment with me. Amen.